Very recently, my son and I were having a conversation after school, and he was sharing with me that he doesn't have a lot of friends. He's only a year or so out of homeschool, going back into a social environment. So there's that consideration. But he said, I don't have a lot of friends because some people think I'm weird. And I asked, well, what does that mean for you? What does weird mean for you? And he says, well, for me, I think weird is great. I think weird is good because weird for me means that I'm different and I don't want to be like everyone else. I thought, oh my God, I love this. I love you. And so that just led me to think a little bit more about this idea about life being weird. And I'm saying that in air quotes if you're not watching this on video right now. Because for us, for many of us, right, we're told that because we're not like everyone else, or we don't have the same interests, or we're not all Swifties, or we're not all whatever, insert the favorite thing of the time, right? Then we're weird, or something's wrong with us. And so I want to talk a little bit about that in today's episode. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So all of my life, I was projected upon by others. I have been spoken about in positive lights, at least to my face, and sometimes not such positive light, but I know that a lot of people have their opinions about who I am and how I showed up. So keep in mind, I moved a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot, like 22 times before the age of 25. Just wrap your head around that. So I felt out of place with most moves. I felt like I didn't know, obviously, what was acceptable according to everyone's standards, right? I'm young. I have my own interest. I am a young person who loves language, who loves nature, who plays piano, super passionate about the arts, and a thespian. And, I had experienced a lot of things before even the age of 15, right? A lot of different cultures, a lot of different countries, a lot of different even neighborhoods and economic situations, right? It was very clear to me that that was not normal because I would get a lot of people's opinions, right? People's thoughts about who I am and what I am not enough of. And so all of my life people said, "Oh, you're black. Oh, you're this. But you talk so white." And I'm saying that in air quotes again. Whatever that means, right? Now, like, I don't know what that means. I'm mixed, and this is what I am. And I know I don't talk Puerto Rican. I don't know. I don't talk black, I guess. I didn't even know exactly what that meant. I know now, of course, what they were referring to, but I realized that it was hard for people to accept this kind of alchemized version of me. And so I started to kind of do what a lot of us do, right? It's like, well, we don't want to stand out. We're too much for people. We're going to shrink back. And I instead became more of a chameleon. And so I would move. I started to learn how to kind of fit in as quickly as possible, be liked by the people. And I started to really absorb the world around me. And that, as you well know, is the fastest way to lose yourself, right? It's like when I decided to let myself start to fade into the background now, what is the difference between the background and the foreground? Like, who am I in this image and in my own life? And so it felt easier in those moments to blend in, right? I'm like a little Jazzy V, as I call myself, right? Allowing myself to just like, cope because I know I'm not going to be there long, right? Keep in mind, right? Military, but then after military, I just say my parents were just like really, really into this like new experience life. So it was like every time a lease was up, we were moving. And so for me, and sometimes, for reasons beyond our control, a whole other story, but I realized that I wasn't going to know these people for long. And so it really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And so, also another reason why you guys have heard me share before, I didn't always allow relationships to develop or deepen. I didn't allow myself to be vulnerable or to be my full self around people because I knew they were not going to last, right? I knew the relationship really didn't matter because it's here today and it will be gone tomorrow. That was always my mindset, right? And so I created this version of myself that was like, I can show up and I can be this version that you need me to be in this moment. And then I can go off and be my own weird version of myself elsewhere, right? In my own kind of safe, secure container. And so, weird being what is real in the authentic version of myself. And that is so sad. Right? It's so sad to recognize that, like, I wasn't allowing myself to be this full expression, even in the places where I would hope to have felt safe, right? In friendships and personal relationships and even family, right? It's like, you need me to be this person for this function, and that's what I'm going to be. So it's very performative, and it's very self-sacrificing. And so, yeah, I feel like this idea of being different, being weird, and this idea that my son has brought into my consciousness and is already floating around in his, which is amazing to me. I'm grateful for that. Is so important and needs to be cherished, right? It's like, can we live to learn to embrace what makes us unique and what makes us different, and not seek to only be living out this life that feels acceptable to others, right? A life that feels like, okay, you can be a part of our little club, right? Like, as though we're like, still in high school or something. Like, we got to be in with the in crowd. Like, you can be a part of this club because you aren't different or aren't weird, or you're just like us, right? Because you like the exact same things we like, or this is the same, and I say that, like, yes, you can have common interests. It's a beautiful thing when you find people that enjoy what you enjoy, but it's very different than when you are like, magnify that part of your life, that very specific defining function, maybe that is the majority of their interests, circle around or revolve around that. And we then put on this persona as though the other parts don't exist, at least in the perception of those other people. And that just is unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate that we are allowing these other parts of ourselves to kind of fall back and sometimes lay dormant for like years, right? For years, until we recognize that this actually is the yumminess of life, is letting it all be, and letting it all be whole, letting ourselves be whole, and letting all of those parts to be a part of this beautiful sum that is our own personal life experience, which will be different from other people's, which needs to be different than others, right? And so you're going to see me looking down if you're online, because I got to check my notes. You guys know my brain's going to stay a little bit more on track, hopefully. You know that it does still slip away sometimes. It just get me all excited about something. So why is normal a thing? When I say normal, like, why is this like definition of normal? Like, I don't, it's just man-made illusion, right? It's like, mostly people are afraid of things that they don't understand or that they are unfamiliar with. And so it feels easier to say that is weird and this is normal, right? Again, air quotes. So being this version of yourself that says, I must shapeshift and conform to this definition of normal in order to be accepted, is most of our experiences, right? And this could be really in anything, right? It doesn't have to be in just friendships. It also could be in working relationships. And I can be the first to admit that I lived this life, right? I lived this life way into adulthood. It's like, I need to be the girl that is accepted by everyone else. And it's taken me 40 plus years now to embrace the idea of, to fully embrace, right? And as I definitely started chipping away at this past version of myself, but this now the version of myself that says, I am me and I am multifaceted, I'm multicolored, I'm multi-layered, I'm all these things, yet I am me. I am different from you. And that is wonderful. That is beautiful. We get to to coexist, and we get to maybe do these fun, playful things together, but know that I am different. And these differences is what makes this world a beautiful place. And so, what does it mean to be normal? Being normal means that we're shrinking back, right? We're choosing to ignore the things that are beautiful. And so this means that we're ignoring perhaps the things that really light us up, the things that make us unique, the things that actually tend to our nervous system, right? The things that help us feel at ease, because we are at ease when we are ourselves. It takes so much effort, so much work to be someone else, right? So like these times where I get to speak to you, yes, I have to have notes just to keep me on track, but I feel so me. I feel so embodied in this conversation, in these moments, which is why, totally selfishly, I love recording these podcasts for you guys, because what feels so yummy is it actually brings me to life. Like, I'm like, wow, I feel so great sharing this. I feel so great knowing that in some way this is going to find the person, the heart, the spirit that it needs to, and it's going to be a catalyst for them. It's going to be medicine for them. It's going to be healing balm, which a dear friend of mine says that. I love that phrase, but like healing balm for their souls, right? And that is so makes me a little bit emotional thinking about it, but it makes me feel so good to know that I can sit in this place where I show up fully myself. I can feel completely and totally embodied in flow. And I'm allowing this to flow out into the world and reach you who desires to receive. And this can then have a beautiful ripple effect, which is in truth exactly what I know I am designed for, is to just be the pebble. I'm meant to be the pebble and drop it into the lake and watch the ripple effect happen in these little moments that I feel I have something to say, something to share, something to give, and I get to be in this place with you. And so thank you for allowing that to be. Thank you for being in a place of vulnerability where you can receive these ideas and maybe new ideas, maybe new thoughts, and just letting them come through in the way that you're letting them. So I appreciate that. I believe, my truth, that boring and normal is bad for our health. It's bad for our mental health, our emotional health, even our physical health, right? Allowing ourselves to be this version that other people think we need to be, right? This kind of this chameleon, right? This person who's like, oh, you look just like everybody else and you're just fading away into the background. Good job, right? That is boring. It's also not good for us. It's really not good for us. And most of us who have, raising my hand, met the dark night of the soul know that multiple times, by the way, know that in that place of darkness and I was going to say solitude, but it's really like sadness and despair, right? It is solitude, of course, but there is this feeling of loneliness where it's like, I don't feel like I'm me. Like, who am I? I've been all these things for other people and I don't feel good. I don't feel present with myself. I feel jumbled mess in my head. I physically feel like crap, right? I feel like my body hurts. My spirit feels heavy, right? Like all of these things are sometimes the senses that come up when we're in these places of the dark night of the souls and we're like experiencing the truth. And that's, for me, that's what that is. It's like experiencing the truth of the stuff that we've neglected and the things that like want to come to light. It's like the dark night of the soul is the moment that it's like our reckoning, right? It's like our internal, like our deeper selves, right? The deeper selves that maybe we've continued to pile on the worldly mumbo jumbo, that version of ourselves is like, mm-mm, phew, I'm done. Like, rip it off. Like, take it out. Show me the light. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. And it's a painful process at times, right? Where we're like, wow, all of this stuff I've left down there, all of these feelings, all of these thoughts, these deep seated, painful emotions, right? All of these things, they got to come out. They want to come out. And so I feel like this part is a part of allowing us to be more in harmony with our lives, right? If we can let ourselves be fully embodied and be weird, right? Tap into what makes us like unique and say yes to those things more often, we will feel more whole and more happy, more satisfied with our lives. So how do we do that? How can we tap into our weird? How can we allow ourselves to be free? And so I said this earlier, right? It's like this remembering of the things that I'm gonna have said, yeah, remembering of the things that bring us joy, right? Forgetting about those things can sometimes be the fastest way for us to kind of do away with what this real version, this authentic version of ourselves. So what does that mean? That means like rewinding ourselves back to those moments in time. There might have been few and far in between where we felt, ooh, so yummy, where we felt like we were lit up, we were on fire. Like maybe before we learned to be like appropriate for everybody, right? I've just been watching Bridgerton, and now I'm catching up to all you cool people who stay up with shows. And it's such an interesting social construct that we still live in. That was definitely has been illuminated and like, I don't know, portrayed in this light. I have mixed feelings about that show, but I actually I love the ideas of kind of this past time being adjusted in some ways, but then in others seeing like the truth of like everybody living this life of like what is appropriate and what is not appropriate and what, you know, people in this like in the society do. Like that is so comical to me and also terribly, terribly sad. And so I'm inspired by the show in ways that I didn't think I would be, because it is, I have a lot of opinions. We're just going to say that. I have a lot of opinions. Sure, many of you do. If you know, are a fan or whatever, mega fan, I apologize if you're like, what? Why? It's so amazing. I mean, it is a great show. Romantic show is very, you know, very dreamy in that way. But I have always leaned into life and life experiences as a social study. I may have shared this with you guys before. Like if I was actually it's shown my interest and like really encouraged to lean into my interest, I would have studied anthropology. Like I love the study of people and cultures and yeah, just observing that. So when I watch shows like this, I'm like, this is quite fascinating, right? And so I definitely feel saddened by the idea that there are so many in society that are kind of living this required version of themselves, and that just is unfortunate. But the truth is we, most of us in this like modern days, we have little these moments where we've been able to experience like things that we enjoy, that things that that light us up, you know, even in the most restrictive cultures these days, right? We are introduced to things and ideas that in, you know, high society back in the 1800s probably were not, right? Or they could have been, but you know, most of conditioning kind of outweighed those other things, right? And so the truth is that we sometimes still move past them. We're like, that was a really great moment, and I got these other things I need to do, especially when we start adulting, right? When we're adults or parents of other humans, we feel like, wow, I don't have time for me now. I need to be for this person. So very, very easily we start to shrink back, and almost the same kind of cycle sets in of what we lived in high school or school age, right? Where we felt like we needed to blend in or to fit in, to be accepted. It's like same thing happens as parents, right? Where we're like comparing ourselves to other parents. We're like, what do I need to do to show up for my kids so that PTA doesn't know that I yada yada, right? Insert all these other things that happen. And so truth is like we have moments where we can recall if we let ourselves rewind and do that recalling. And so going back to even like childlike times, and this is where things like hypnotherapy, which if you guys seen my social media, I've been talking a lot about a hypnotherapist that I love very much who's having this event coming up because I feel like it's just such a beautiful thing for us to just revisit these moments in childhood, even if we don't believe ourselves to have trauma, just tapping into that inner child, because it can do things like this, like help us remember these moments where like, oh, that was so much fun when I used to do insert whatever it was, right? What was the hobby that you loved? What are the like talents that you enjoyed? Things that you liked playing with, like maybe it was a certain kind of object, or maybe it was an instrument, or maybe it was a place that you found yourself. Like maybe you had this love of building forts, and I know might sound silly, but like maybe you finding a little nook in your house to build yourself a little fort and journal or read or just listen to music and chill out, like is what you need as an adult, right? I don't know, whatever it is, whatever your jam is, like starting to reconnect with that, right? So that is the first thing, is rewind, find that passionate thing, find the thing that juices you up, and start to play with it, start to weave it in some way. All right. The next thing I would suggest is try to identify like when you find yourself shrinking back, right? Where are the moments where you're like, I wanted to show up this way, but then I thought about everyone's opinion of that. So then I just made that little change or shift. Like I was going to post this thing or reshare this thing, but then I remembered, what about so-and-so? What will they think? What about this? What will this group of people think about it? Right. And instead, can you move in the way as if nobody was watching you? Like if you laughed and you felt inspired to reshare the thing, reshare the thing. Like I do that all the time. I'm like, there are days where I just fall into like, I need to find something funny. And my feed knows this on socials. I get something inspirational, something funny. I know people talk about like the toxic scroll or whatever. I give myself limits on this, but I do think it's necessary to, like, when you feel your body needing this moment, or emotional state, or like mental state needing a moment to play, and you want to play on social to find something that like entertains you, give yourself permission to do that. And if you feel inspired to share something, maybe that's the thing you need to do. Just share it, right? And so what is the thing that like you are doing to shrink back? Like, can you be honest with yourself about that kind of habit when it's setting in? Because it might be consistent, like it might be always in social, it might always be in conversation, it might be in those moments of like, I don't know, even journaling, or like truth in your therapy session or whatever, right? So what would it look like if you moved like no one was watching? What would that look like? And can you try that? And so what this week or in this like season for your life, what could you do to set this intention, like just opening up yourself to live wonderfully and authentically you? Like, can you say the thing? Can you wear the thing? Can you create it? Can you post it? Like whatever it is. And it could be that, I'm just going to be brave enough to ask that friend group if they want to hang out. Like maybe you're just going to actually show up to that, networking thing, or that gathering of people that you've been wanting to visit and watching. Like I know people do this all the time, where they're like spectating for long periods of time before they actually, and I'm guilty of this too. So when they spectate for a long period before they actually show up and try the thing that they've been wanting to do, it's like, I've been watching all these, aerial silks classes online, and watching people, following all these people who are performers, and like maybe you actually show up for that class one week, right? Maybe you show up for that instrument class, piano class or guitar class, or maybe you show up for open mic because you're like, I love it, or karaoke, you're like, I love even just being present, or like I love singing, and I'm just going to put myself out there and sing. It's not my favorite, not my first talent, but I love singing and I want to share it with other people, right? And so just do the thing, say the thing, let your weird, air quotes again, let your weird be the guide for this season. What would that look like? It's not a flaw. Maybe it's your feature. Maybe it's like the zhuzh that you're like, I didn't even know existed in me, right? Maybe, maybe. And so what would it look like for you to step into your weird and be unapologetically you? Like, I love that phrasing, being unapologetically you, so much. For me, it just feels like the right way to move, right? Because most of us are told like, you're too much. And so we almost move as though we're like tiptoeing around people. And then we actually somehow, well, the way we move are saying, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, oops, I didn't mean to. Right. And it's like, we're kind of this like carefully curated version of ourselves in the world. And that's no way to live, right? No way to truly live. And so what would it look like to put being yourself fully into practice, and maybe somehow you inspire others, and your gift to them is like letting them witness you in this place where like, wow, I didn't even know that part of you. I'm so excited to know this about you, to see this in you, to like be inspired, right? And so like, what is the one thing that you are absolutely ready to reclaim as your uniqueness, as your weird, right? And if you could send this to me, share it with me, I would love to hear it. I'm excited to learn about how you're navigating this. And hopefully, you again are being out there in the world and inspiring others. You don't have to be doing things like podcasting and posting. You could just be sharing this with your family, with the people that you care about. And you're like, listen, I did this thing. Oh my gosh, it scared me and I did it anyway. And I remember I used to love it as a kid and all that. So I'm excited to just be able to witness you in this new space where you get to let your weird be your truth, and maybe even be your vitality, the things that brings you the yumminess of life, the things that brings you the most fulfilling, most life-giving experience that you so deserve. Okay. And until next time, continue living life mindfully amplified, my friends. We'll see you soon. Take care.